Hey everyone, I'm Claire from Swell Coach, and I have Lena Thompson with me today. We're having a little chuckle to ourselves. I met Lena a year ago on a self-development journey called, we were in a program together called A Course in Miracles. And it was an intense course. And Lena and I both lived in London at the time. And so we caught up and created a friendship from there, which has been really beautiful. But what's fascinating about Lena, we've both found for each other, is that our journey to where we are has almost been mirrored or parallel with the corporate world, the challenges that we faced, and moving through them to start our own businesses. So, Lena, I'd love you to share, love to hear from you. If you just tell the audience a little bit about you and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so it's lovely to catch up with you, Claire. As you said, we met in London, now in New Zealand. I'm here and we're still maintaining the connection. So, and I also appreciate you speaking with me today, considering the time zones that we are in. Yeah, so our journeys are the same, very, very similar. I spent over 15 years in a corporate arena and I thought I kind of nailed it, the success, I guess the finances, the money, the house, holidays, everything. But I was getting more and more to the stage in my life where no matter how many shoes I bought, no matter how many holidays I went on, I just felt this deep sense of like something was missing and I didn't know what it was. So because I was always into fitness, into sports, I used to fence for South Africa, I used to run marathon. I thought maybe I should become a personal trainer. And then I kind of started considering the options, but nothing made sense financially, at least, because I had mortgage, we had private schools, we had so many commitments, and I felt stuck. I knew that something needed to change, but I didn't know what to change and where to even start. And I remember one day I was actually driving to the office and it was a really, really long commute. And I was so frustrated. I was bored. I wasn't enjoying the job. And I was listening to this YouTube video when Dr. Joe Dispenza actually came up. And it was the first time that I've heard of him and I've heard his story. You know of Dr. Joe, right? Dr. Joe Dispenza. Yeah. So he was
Yeah.
sharing how he healed his spine just with the power of his mind. And this obviously was much more what he was sharing, but something clicked in me that day. I was like, I knew, it's like when you resonate with something so deeply, like you've always known it's like the truth, but you didn't have the verbiage to express it. So you just thought you like making this stuff up. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is incredible. So I got to the office and I've downloaded every single one of his audible books. I think I
In
spent
your
the entire
style,
day. Hey?
voracious. In your style, voracious.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just like, because back then I was a programmer, so I was designing workflow, I was coding, and as I'm coding, I'm listening to Dr. Joy, and I don't even know how many mistakes I made in my code. I think the whole application crashed, but my soul was like going, yes, this is what I've been waiting for. From that day, I actually started meditating. I've never tried, well, I've tried it before, and I was like, that is a waste of time. I'd rather go for like a 10-mile run. And that was the first time I was like, no, you know what, actually, let me try that thing out. Maybe there is something to it. So this is basically how my journey started. And about a year and a half later, I started my first business. I bought a franchise and then I left my corporate world. And then this journey has been pretty crazy. And then we met.
And tell me, what are you doing now? Because I find this really exciting.
So, for a long time, I went on this journey. I've invested in spiritual coaches, sales coaches, business coaches, mentors, anybody who could just give me an answer. Why the hell do I exist? Like, what is my purpose? What is my meaning? And I think it was during COVID time where I really had time to go even more within. And I spent countless hours and days just sitting on a couch trying to figure out my next step. And what actually came to me, which was quite interesting, is that I needed to get certain message out into the corporate world. At that time, I thought it was ridiculous because I just didn't see how spirituality, something what I was going through, the metaphysics, everything I've been learning, how to even get it across, and he would listen to me. But the coincidences, the synchronicities that started happening it's just even my logical mind even started to kind of shut down a little bit and stop resisting that so much. I was like, maybe there is something in it. So I ended up actually traveling and speaking for the last 2.5, 3 years, and obviously refining my message as the journey's gone on. And I fell into public speaking, which is quite interesting because the biggest fear I've always had, apart from the fear of death, which I have also cured, was the fear of speaking, to the point where I wouldn't even open my mouth. And if somebody would ask me a question, like in a boardroom, in a meeting, I would be like hyperventilating. I was so shy. I was like really, I'm still, I guess, introverted, but I don't mind, I love speaking. So yeah, so now my passion is to speak and also help busy professionals to align with their purpose and to find clarity in life.
Such a great mission. I love it so much. And I think it's so common, isn't it? The fear of public speaking. Why is that?
Well, I think they actually said it's the fear, number one fear in the world, right? So fear of public speaking actually overtakes the fear of of death. And actually, the interesting theory about it I heard actually from the guy who I listened to. He's a Kabbalah teacher. He says the reason why people are so afraid of public speaking, and in fact, that's where all fear comes from, is because we are so focused on taking. And I could not understand what does that mean. And the analogy he used, he says, imagine you're stepping on a stage and you're offering everybody in the audience $1 million. Would you be afraid? Probably
No.
wouldn't, right? Because you're giving. But now I think about when the speaker gets on the stage, what do they want? They want to take. They want to take the attention, the understanding, the appreciation, and that creates that fear, right? Because when you live from that lack, like something is missing, where I need your approval, I need your attention, I need your validation, I need something from you, that's what creates fear. And unfortunately, a lot of us, we live in that state without consciously even realizing. And
Mm.
I know you talk a lot about self-belief and you've got a course on self-belief. Like, how does that kind of align with your teachings, with your understanding?
Gosh, I love what you're just saying there. It's so true. The alignment is, the two parts of our mind, which you know well about, is, um, we've got an egoic part of our mind, or false self, or there's so many names for it, right? That thinks it's separate from the whole. And the false self is the part of us that identifies as the me, myself, I, like it's like and you're, as you rightly say, it's always on the take because it thinks it's separate. So it's looking for that thing that's going to make it feel whole again, make it feel connected. And so we're kind of conditioned, the way that the education system and societal system is set up is to feed this part of our mind to try to make it safe. And so what I found with personal development, and like yourself, I have been on the personal development journey since I was 15, and I read Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence
Mm.
People. But what I found through getting through texts like A Course in Miracles, Kabbalah and such, is that personal development is really only teaching us to strengthen that part of our mind that thinks it's separate, which is a total illusion, because of course everything's connected, everything is energy, and the law of one is the golden principle, right? So my to your question, my self-belief course, what I think is so different about it is it's teaching us to remember who we truly are, the other part of our mind, the higher self, the superconscious, as people talk about it, the part of us that has this innate strength and resilience and intuition and wisdom and knowledge of what to do next, which we all know. We've been in those situations thinking I can't do this, and then we've gone and done it. So I help people really see that part of them so they can come from a grounded certainty, so that they can live from their own inner sight or intuition, rather than seeking, the hamster wheel of seeking the outside sources to feel as if they're safe and feel as if they're good enough.
Yeah, no, it's spot on, that whole self-help, personal development. It's only strengthens the part of the mind that actually feeds our insecurities and ego. And I'm not saying, there is also a place for it, right? So we know that growth doesn't kind of happen. Let's say if there's like levels to, it doesn't happen at level 7 automatically. You've got to go through different stages. You've got to firstly wake up and go, hang on a second. I'm living, let's say, I'm living in alignment or something doesn't feel right. You first you've got to get that feeling like something doesn't feel right. You then kind of wake up to, hang on a second, I've got the power to change my life, even though I may not know how exactly right now, but I will figure it out. And actually, when I look at my life, the way some situations I didn't know how to get out of them, but yet they worked out. So then you've got to kind of start building the trust. Then you may move into motivation phase, right? Like Tony Robbins phase. Yes, I'm going to do that. Then you may move to Dr. Joe Dispenza phase, where you begin to really understand about the neuroplasticity and the beliefs, and what you believe is what you create, and how with the thought you send the intention out, with emotion is how you draw the experience back to you. So from there, you begin to maybe move more into breath work, into nervous system regulation. From there, it's like constant like unfolding of the next layer. It's like an onion and you're peeling on the layers all the time. So the more layers you peel, the more clarity you get about your life, the more you have that resilience and the strength to deal with anything that life's come or throws at you. And this is where you discover your passion. This is where you discover your hobbies. When you get to a certain stage, you may fall in love like me with public speaking, where let's say when I was 3, 4 years ago, I was terrified of it because I haven't peeled enough layers to get to that stage. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. And also, but I don't think there's not, the stages don't go step by step though, don't they? Because
No.
there are people that have fallen into their purpose and their passion that still, are living from that separate, the feeling of the separate self. So there can be, they're in a job that they love, but they're still potentially not feeling, in other areas of their life that they're content or fulfilled. There still might be something missing. So what I love about what you're saying is it's that kind of, it's the the awakening process can happen at all levels, for all types, at all times, but there is that part of us that is always feeding or showing us what we need to be looking at next, right? And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love, like, for me, the journey has been more about trusting that part of me.
Mm,
Whereas, when I started with personal development, it was so like I was book after book after book after book, searching for that thing that's going to make me feel confident or turn the light on or whatever it was. Like you're saying, that there was something in me that didn't feel complete. And so when I was coming from that space, it was like an all consuming, never enough, couldn't get there,
mm,
kind of part of me. And that's obviously feeding the ego. And that's where a lot of the personal development industry is in, versus really getting a depth of a groundedness in who I am and what I'm capable of, and then coming from that space. And it's the difference between, for me, as being peace of mind and a settled curiosity and what's next for me, versus a need to know, like this need to know in order to be safe or to be happy or to be content. um, Two very different energies. And on the subject of energy, I know that's, something that you're really passionate about as well. And what I was so fascinated about you when we first connected was your interest and your passion in human design. And I know that that was a part of your public speaking, and why people are so drawn, your audience is so drawn to you because it's so fascinating. Is that a part of what you're sharing in the new course? And let's go back, like, tell us about the new course.
Yeah, so firstly, yeah, I mean, energy is everything. I mean, our whole life literally responds to our energy, not our efforts. This,
Yeah.
whatever energy you're ready, this is exactly what is being attracted to you. So what I've found a lot is that I don't even sometimes, or not even sometimes, always, you don't even need to change what you're doing. You just got to change the energy behind it, because you can take the same action, but the energy behind it is very different. Like what you were talking about, let's say a book, right? Reading a book or attending a course or working with a mentor. Why am I doing? What is the energy behind the action? Am I taking a course because I feel it's going to expand me, because it's just going to make me feel so fulfilled? Or am I taking the course hoping that somebody's going to give me the answer I'm looking for? And it's
Yeah.
like, becoming like literally examining every action you are taking. why am I taking the step? Why am I doing this? What is the energy? And the energy is like, I'm trying to take something from someone. I'm trying to fill in that lag, that hole within me. And maybe it's not the right step just yet. So I became really fascinated about this entire concept of energy, and it led me to human design, where I had, at that time, I was completely burnt out. And I shared the story a few times where one day I came downstairs and I opened the laptop and I couldn't type. I forgot how to type. And I'm someone who types like 120 words a minute. So that was measured years and years ago. And I couldn't remember. And I was just so overwhelmed by everything. And I've canceled all calls that day. And one call I had was with this lady, and she said to me, "Have you heard about human design?" So she briefly to me explained what it was. And after the call, I remember I took this book, or I went on a website, I've ordered the book, and it was a love at first sight. So for those who don't know what human design is, it's like, imagine like a profiling tools like Myers-Briggs or DISC or Strength Finder, except it adds an energetic element to it. So considering that we are human beings, like 99.99% energy, we often don't understand the importance of that energy plays in our lives. So when you understand even the basic principles of your unique human design, you will understand how do you use your energy, how to exchange it with the people around you so that you can become more productive, more energized, and also, I guess, more radiance. It's the health, it's the vitality. And the more energy you radiate out there, the more you draw opportunities to you. And when it comes to speaking, this is what quite was interesting to me when I first kind of got into public speaking, because as I said, I was a very, I didn't have experience, I didn't even like speak much. But when I was doing a research, all of this like top experts saying it's not even the words that you're sharing, it's not the content, but it's the energy. It's the energy that people are pulled into. And I've played with it so many times. Sometimes I share like concepts like human design, and I'll put like a body graphs, like charts of a human design, and people in the audience wouldn't even know what it is. And yet every single person is literally glued, like they're magnetized to it, and they're pulling out the phones and they're taking photos because something in them pulls them towards this without the logical mind even understanding. And after the talk, people would come up to me and they said, "You know what, I was meant to be in another room. I didn't even know you were speaking." But they said, as soon as I sat down in another room, something in me told me to get up and go to your room. And you have no idea how many times I heard that. And that's how powerful energy is. So yeah, I mean, human design is a part of almost every of my talk, because I believe understanding your human design can just help you to completely transform how you work and how you live your life.
Beautiful. I love that. And I can see why people are drawn to the human design. And as you said, everything's energy, and humans are 99.999% energy. And so with that, the highest frequency on earth is truth, right? So we may not understand something, but when we're looking directly in the face of truth about something, we'll be drawn to it. So I can so see why people are saying that, and why that's the response to, when they hear human design, it's like, edge your
Yeah.
seat stuff, tell me more.
Yeah, something in them. And you know what? I had a couple of talks where the end, I still remember, I think it was in Copenhagen. This one woman came to me and she was crying and she says, "Please, can I give you a hug?" I said, "Of course you can." And she says, I've been waiting. I've been waiting for this information to come to corporate world for so long. Thank you for bringing it out there." And I just remember these days and weeks and months when I literally sat on a couch and when I was receiving this ideas or downloads, whatever you want to call it, that human design is the bridge between a corporate and a spiritual world. And I was like, this is crazy. I'm going to get crucified on that stage. And just hearing that feedback was more than enough. Well, it was a lot of confirmation for me. And I was just so grateful that I trusted my intuition to take that step. And
Mm.
often we don't trust that voice, we just trust what's logical, rather than what we already know within our hearts and souls.
Yeah, and that comes back to the energy piece as well, like you were talking about. So the separate self, or the false self, thinks because it's separate that it's limited and lacking. And so there lies the I guess the inner narrative that's the bully, is always coming from that place. So you said, I'm going to get crucified on that stage. That's the ego, the separate
Mm.
self, bringing in the fear, bringing in the doubt, bringing in the insecurity. And if we live from that place, then we pretty much don't get anything done, right? Because the intuition's always calling the other part of ourselves, the higher self, the intuition, the inner sight is saying, hey, you need to go this way, you need to go this way. And
Yeah.
so I love that you leaned into that and went, I'm going to do it, like in spite of you're going to get crucified on stage, because that's how we uncover and move into and lean into our calling, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I've learned how to do is not to listen to that fear that it's right now, but more really connect to the outcome. If I was already that speaker on a stage, if I was to deliver the talk, how would I feel? And if
Mm.
that kind of gives me the tingles, even if there is a fear, even if there is a doubt, but I get those tingles in my body, I get this like expansion that I know it's the right next step for me. And it's only the monkey mind that is telling me that I can't, that I shouldn't, that it's not safe, whatever. But let's say if I connect to the outcome of it and I go, I'm not sure, then I know it's a no for me. So it's not even how I'm feeling at the moment, it's how would I feel once I've taken that action. And this is where the course that I've launched called Speak with Impact, how to engage your audience and keep them hooked till the end. I talk a lot about, first and the most important thing is creating a vision. Because vision, it's not even just for speaker journey, it's for any journey. What is the vision? Because vision can actually is like your guiding light, right? So whenever the doubt, the fear, the insecurities, that mind start chattering, you actually can connect to the end goal and work backwards from it. It becomes just much faster way of accomplishing what you want. And also that's how you build the strength and resilience to push through any challenges, to push through any obstacles and stay on course.
So tell us more about Speak with Impact. I'm loving the sound of that.
Yeah, so the reason I created the course, and I was actually inspired to do by one of the ladies I partnered up with. She's a projector, so and projectors have an amazing gifts to see through you and really help you to get your potential. And she was the one telling me to do this course, and I was like, oh no, I should do this. So I finally just did it, and I loved it. So the reason really what inspired me to do that is I often, when I speak at events or when I go to events, what I see is that the speaker get on a stage and audience get on the phones or on the laptops. And it's just the speakers obviously put a lot of effort and time and energy into their presentation to delivering it. But what happens is they are so focused on information that
Mm.
they don't realize that it's a transformation that is needed rather than information. Unless the audience are super, super interested in that topic, they will lose them. There will be disconnect. So, and this is what I really wanted to emphasize, how to not just to overload audience with information, but create a transformation. And how do you do that? Through your energy. And this is what we don't pay attention to. So the course talks a lot about firstly creating the vision, because when you are on track with the vision, that obviously builds your resilience, your confidence, and then also talks about human design. So helping people to understand what is their human design, what does it mean, gives them practical exercises to do on how to start generating more energy. Because the thing is, we often, when I, let's say, do talks or workshops, I say to people, where do you derive your energy from? And the typical answers I get, like food, exercise, water, sleep, other people. And those are valid answers, but they're not even they don't even scratch the surface of our multi-dimensional beingness, right? Because we don't just exist on a physical plane. We also exist on emotional, on mental, and on spiritual. And we disregard often these other three. So we're only tapping into like a little fraction of our potential. So this is what the course also touches. How do we actually balance all of these four areas? And as well as making it kind of more about you understanding who you are, also make it super practical, because this is where I share through years of experience where to find the speaking gigs, how to connect with event organizers, and also like even help them to step by step or provide templates on how to create the speaker templates that you can apply for your first gig. So the aim of the course really is to help people to firstly understand who they are, what is the message, how to speak with impact, amplify their voice, and also go and actually book that speaking gigs before the course is even finished.
Amazing. And it sounds like it's not just for people that want to become public speakers as well, right? Because speaking and being able to hold yourself in a room and voice your opinion or share your feedback or ask a question like that, all of that is effectively public speaking, right?
Well,
So who,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, who are you? I mean, who is this course designed for?
Yeah, so it's for public speakers, obviously new or existing, who want to amplify their message and their presence. And as well as, I mean, we both come from corporate worlds. How many meetings have you attended where you just sit there like, oh my gosh, when is this going to be finished, right? So it's also for the presenters, because I've done about 10 years in corporate setting where I flew all over the world. I've presented, I've run so many workshops. And somehow, even annoyingly, I've always managed, it was probably my strength to hold the attention of the room, even when I had no clue what I was talking about. There were a few situations like that, but it's just something turned out I was naturally good at. So it's for presenters, but it's also even for parents, like for parents, we're always negotiating with kids. And kids they may listen to our words, but they will still react to our body language, to what we are not saying. They're really good at tuning in, to reading your energy, to reading your aura, whatever you want to call it. So it can really be for people who want to improve their communication and who want to, as I say, speak with greater impact, but also connect to the part of themselves that they have never even explored.
I love it. And so what is the makeup of the course? Like where do they find it? How much time does it take? Like just take us through the practical steps of it.
Yeah, so the course is published on Udemy now. And takes about 1 hour, 40 minutes. It's got quizzes in between. It's also got like a visualization templates to help them to start implementing certain practices daily. So the process I share in that course, it's completely changed my life. I went from no speaking experience at all to in about a year and a half, 2 years, I spoke at probably 30 stages worldwide, 3 continents. I met presidents, ex-presidents, Olympian athletes, daughters of Nelson Mandela, so many other incredible people because of that exercise. Obviously, not just doing that exercise, also taking action, but that exercise is what helped me to know which actions to take. Right? It became more of a guided action than rather let me get busy and just do all of these things, which actually may or may not get me anywhere. And this is why this visualization process I share, I'm just so passionate about it, because I know it can help people to accomplish things that they've never thought were possible, especially in that such a short frame of time. So it's got practical things, and as well as just, short videos between like 3 to 5 minutes, like little bite sizes, not to overwhelm them.
I'm really looking forward to going through the course myself. So so thank you so much for sharing. Is there anything else that you think is helpful for the audience to know, to understand?
Yeah, I think we just often hold ourselves because of the fear of the unknown. Not willing to take that next step. And I speak to so many people who know that their life is not what it should be, that something is missing, but they're letting that logical, analytical part of their brain to keep themselves stuck and not move forward in life because of the fear, because they don't know how things will work out. And I actually wanted to touch on that part with your support, Claire, because I know you talk a lot about fear. So maybe you can speak to that and how you can help people to overcome that fear.
Yeah, fear's such a massive one, isn't it? And I think it's not just in public speaking, it's in everything. It's
Oh,
in
totally.
the unknown. And I think for me, what I help my clients do is really lean into the fear. Like we've never been taught how to deal with our feelings, how to sit with our feelings. If you think about from, a child being a child, um, we have all the things like if I was crying, like people would say, well, don't cry. And it wasn't acceptable to cry. Like that people would want you to be happy, or good girls don't cry, or Stop your crying or I'll give you something to cry about. Or, they don't want you to be sad. So here, have a lollipop or have an ice cream or like whatever it is, we're kind of told to skip over our fears and our feelings and not feel them, that it's not okay to feel. So I think certainly for me and what I share with my clients is one of the biggest things I've ever learned, and I think is that can be helpful for all of us, is to understand how to sit with our feelings and be okay with them. Because feelings are simply energy. We're energetic beings. We've discovered that. Feelings are just energy passing through the system. But it's the thoughts that give the feelings the meaning and the thinking about, oh, I'm feeling fear. So that must mean that I'm going to fail. That must mean that this is a terrible idea. That must mean that I can't do that. So we try to, we feel something, and you mentioned sort of the heart-mind coherence, but immediately the logical or the rational brain comes in and tries to work out, why am I feeling like this? Simply a feeling. We're simply, it's a feeling state that the body's in because we're in the unknown. So it's totally natural. So fear is like, the cliche is, what is it? Fear is false experience appearing real, because we're literally sitting in our mind thinking about the future and making it up. And we often make up worst case scenarios. I remember when I got my first paid gig, this is years ago, it was for a very large bank in the UK. And one of my fears this is when I started getting into journaling, and I just looked at this and just laughed out loud because it was so ridiculous. One of my fears was I would trip up on stage, fall over, and land with my legs in the air and everyone's seen my knickers.
I love it.
So we go to the most ludicrous,
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
ludicrous places. And then because the feeling intensifies when we add more thought to it, the feeling becomes too much for us to bear. So we say, okay, that's it. In order to take myself out of this feeling of pain, this discomfort I'm feeling, I'll say no to the opportunity. And that's how we're continuously limiting ourselves and stopping ourselves from our purpose and from our reason for being. And it's why people can sit in this state and be in total anxiety and unfulfillment, because they don't realize that what's on their heart is for them, and they're in a state of consistently stopping that through giving into the fear. So yeah, fear's a biggie, and to answer your question, the thing that I most would help people or suggest that people lean into is learning about how to just sit with feelings, breathe through them, move, and to be able to move through them. And one thing about human beings is we have an innate or a well of courage, along with resilience, along with strength. We were far more than we think we are. And courage is being able to do the thing in fear anyway. And so lean into the courage rather than leaning into the fear, which is going to stop us. The courage is going to move us forward. And that comes back to the two parts of our mind. Fear is the small, separate self, the ego, saying, no, don't do that. You'll die. And faith and courage is that part of ourselves that's going, yes, this is for you. You can do this. Walk, take step, just take one step at a time.
Yeah, I love it. I always say the only way out is through, right? We've got to
Mm.
go through our emotions. And it's, I mean, like today, I was literally moving so much anxiety through my body, where before it would have terrified me. I would have run to, I don't know, go physically for a run or maybe do breath work or being so agitated. And I just was present to it the entire day. I just let it consume me. And I was like, I'm going to feel this anxiety. There's emotion, there is energy moving through me. It's going to pass. Tomorrow I'm going to feel different. And as soon as the thoughts start coming up, I'm like, no, I know that means nothing. We have 70,000 thoughts a day. I don't like that thought. So I'm not going to I'm going to pay attention, but I'm going to be present to that anxiety and feel it. And it's not comfortable. But when you actually sit with it, when you feel into it, when you lean into whatever it is that you're feeling, it goes. When you run away from it, it comes back over and over and over. And that's what can literally keep you stuck and keep you from going what's truly is meant for you in this life.
Mm. Love it. Well, I'm really excited for your course. It sounds super powerful. And my goodness, the amount of, women that I work with that are holding themselves back through fear and fear of public speaking or fear of being visible, actually.
Yeah, fear of being
Um,
visible.
so I love that you've created this content, this space for them to see something new and fresh and more powerful about themselves. So thank you for that. And thank you for moving through your own fear and creating it. Because I know there's a lot.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me, Claire. It's been a pleasure and fun as
Always,
always.
always good to chat.
Okay.
Thanks, Anna.